This Canon lens is from the 1960s. It cost me $50 on eBay and it can capture some stunning shots like this. Now the lens in question is this little guy. It's the Canon FL 35mm f2.5 and it's pretty fun to mess around with. I'm a huge fan of 35mm lenses and I've wanted a nice one for a while, and I was looking at the Canon FD 35 f2, but the prices for those right now are pretty expensive, and I thought I would just try out the FL version to just see if I even liked the focal length and the look of this old Canon glass. And I do, but it is very stylized, so let's get into that. Now I love the 35mm focal length because it's a really nice middle ground between the wide angle, like a 24, and more telephoto, like a 50 or 80mm. And it just gives you that nice realism focal length. I feel like it really matches what an eye sees, and it still allows you to see a lot of your scene without being cropped in too much, but it also just allows you to get close to subjects and get a little bit of separation. So that's why I really love this focal length. There have been some movies shot completely on 35mm and they look incredible. So when you put this lens on a modern mirrorless camera, the first thing you're going to notice is what I call built-in Pro Mist. And Pro Mist is basically an effect, a filter that you put in front of your lens that softens the image overall, and that's exactly what this lens does. So let me demonstrate for you really quickly what I mean by that. So here's an example of the Pro Mist look. If we look at these lights right here, you can see how soft and bloomy it looks around them. Usually it would just be like a singular source, but it really has that nice softening around the edges, which is what this lens kind of creates with its optics. So the Pro Mist look is most obvious when you look at something dark against something bright. So let's look at these branches right here against the sky, and you can see how it just blooms out everything, even my hand here. It just softens all the edges against the sky and makes it look super bloomy. Now this built-in Pro Mist look that I'm talking about doesn't always work. It definitely is a lot to the image. It blooms out too much in some instances and is very, very stylized, but sometimes you just want that really soft look, and I really like it in certain circumstances. Another thing you'll notice about this lens is that it's completely built out of metal and glass. Like, this is a sturdy freaking lens. It's small but extremely dense and just well built. Like, it does not feel like it's gonna fall apart or break in any way, and I really love that about that. Just the density of it feels a lot better than modern plastic lenses, and yeah, it's just really solid build quality. I hinted at this before, but this lens is very easily adaptable to modern mirrorless cameras. I just have it on a Canon FD to E mount adapter right here, and it's just super simple. They're like $10 adapters, and you just slap them on your camera and they work perfectly. No vignetting, nothing like that. Fits the full frame format beautifully. But because it is 2023 and this is a lens built from 1964 to 1971 meant for photo cameras, there are a few things on it that aren't perfect and I don't love. So let me run through those. One thing I don't love about this lens is the aperture. The stops on the aperture here are only in full complete stops. So like from 4 to f6, they're not even half or third stops. Having only full stops to go between isn't the end of the world, but it doesn't give you as much flexibility when trying to get a perfect f-stop. Also, the aperture only has 6 blades, and so when you begin to stop down, the bokeh in the background stops being round, which of course is fine, it's stylistic, but sometimes people really want that rounded bokeh, and you just don't get that with this lens. And another thing I don't love on this lens is the focus throw. So the focus ring doesn't have the longest throw, it's probably like a half of the lens around, and so you can't get super specific focus very easily. It takes a little more precision and work to get that and make it happen. And then also the minimum focus is, I think, 0.4 meters, which isn't super close, especially at a 35mm. So often I'm feeling like I can't get close enough to my subject, but because of that, it reminded me of a fun stylistic thing I used to do, which is lens whacking, where you essentially remove the lens and kind of shift it forward to get closer focus. And it's really fun. And I've been getting some really cool stylized shots. So with this lens paired with lens whacking, getting some close focus, it looks really cool with some light leaks. And yeah, it's just been fun to be creative, but the built-in minimum focus distance, not the best. And another thing that might be a negative, might be a positive, depending on how you look at it, is this lens only has one coating, and that's a magenta coating. And so that's why it blooms so much and has so much character. And so for those reasons, I guess that's a good thing, but it also means that it lets in a lot more flaring and weird aberrations and stuff that might not be desirable. But yeah, I don't know what else there is to say. This is just a fun lens to mess around with, and for the price, like there's just really no reason not to pick it up. Like I said, was thinking about getting the Canon FD version, but didn't want to spend $400, and so for 50 bucks, you get a super solid lens that has a lot of character and can create some pretty neat shots that look more expensive in a way for being on a cheaper lens. It's weird, but that's what vintage does. So I dig it, and yeah, definitely worth giving a shot. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Also, if you have a Canon film camera like an AE1, this lens also works on it. So pretty cool to adapt those two and work between digital and film. In case you're curious, those work.